Hello and welcome to episode 92 of my podcast all about knitting and crochet and my yarn shop here in Wiesbaden, Germany. I'm Kiko and today is April 19th, 2021. Today I'm wearing something not brand new, but it's only a year old, so it's still not that old, and something brand new. So the loop, the cowl I'm wearing is the Haruni cowl, and I bought the pattern when we did the Haruni shawl knit along last year. So the Haruni shawl is a free pattern on Ravelry, but the designer liked the pattern so much that she decided to design a few more shapes using this pattern. So there's the triangular shawl is the original shawl. Then there's Haruni Plus that has a different, the change from pattern 1 to pattern 2 is different. And then she designed this cowl and she designed a crescent shape shawl. And I think there's one more that I'm forgetting at the moment. But anyway, you can get the whole bundle with all the Haruni patterns together, and that's what I bought because I really like the pattern. And so I knit the triangular shawl with the knit along, and then I knit the cowl, Haruni cowl, as part of the Musterschlacht, the pattern battle from the Opal subscription yarn. So that was the color that was chosen last year in summer, and I took part with this pattern. And the main part of the cowl has the pattern 1. That's usually the pattern for the main body of the piece of the shawl or the cowl. And then there's this big flowery or leafy pattern at the edge. And I think she has instructions for how to place the beads. And I put beads in the middle of the leaves and then on the edge on the middle stitch of this crochet bind off. Yeah, I like it very much. It's a very bright and happy looking little cowl. And I felt it went with this with my new pullover. It has the same like pinks and yellows and greens. And that's why I thought I could pair them together, even though they're both very colorful. And yes, this is my pullover, my crochet example pullover that I test crocheted for Heather from HGDC, HG Designs Crochet. And this is what it looks on me. So this is the length, this is the split hem. I'm really very happy with how it's fitting. It's a fairly loose fit, even though it's not quite as oversized as it was supposed to be in the pattern, but I'm really happy with the size I chose. I changed the neckline a bit, so it's bigger than the pattern calls for, but I'm really happy with the fit. The seams are all seamed from the outside, so the pieces are crocheted together from the outside, so you get this visible seam that I like a lot. I changed the sleeves a little bit and added a few more increases just on the top of the sleeve, but I'm really happy with the fit now. Because of the pullover being oversized, it's not tied anyway, it's not tied here. But I just needed a bit more room to be able to wear a t-shirt or a shirt underneath. I'm happy with the length of the sleeve. They fit really nicely. What else can I say? The seam was supposed to be on top of the shoulders, even though the back is a bit longer than the front. But I put in the sleeve so they sit a bit to the front, so the back comes a bit higher than the front. I just find that the neckline sits nicer that way, and I'm really happy, and I don't mind it sitting a bit to the front. It's a visible seam anyway, so I don't mind it being visible from the front. So I crocheted a DK weight sock yarn that is very colorful, held together with a 4-ply black sock yarn. So you have this mild effect, but because the colorful yarn is a bit thicker than the black yarn, the color is a bit more dominant. yeah, but it really differs from stitch to stitch. Sometimes you get all the color and sometimes you get a lot more black, and I just like the way it varies. Like here's a bit more black for some reason, and I just like the overall effect. I was so happy when I started crocheting the two yarns together, and I just love the effect. And yeah, I'd love to do another one. Maybe I'll do the same pattern again, but what I also would love to do is the first pullover that Heather published was called, I think, Revival, and it's a granny square pattern. She usually designs with granny squares, and she came up with a variation on that pullover where you marl two yarns together, and I think again she used black and a colorful color, and I'd love to crochet that version. So as soon as she publishes that, I will get it, and I will probably do that pullover before I do another example. I might do another example at some point. The pattern for this pullover has not been published yet. I think she's planning on publishing it sometime next week or the week after. But I will definitely let you know once it's published. And I hope she's going to publish it on Ravelry so I can link my project page to her pattern page so you can find it very easily. Because I link all the projects I talk about underneath my video to my Ravelry pages, and wherever possible I will link to the original pattern. Yeah, so that are the things that I am wearing today. Let's just quickly put this back on. I really like the way this flares out on the bottom, and I can show off all the nice beads. They don't really show up on camera that much, but especially when the light hits them, they sparkle, and I just love it. Okay, then on to finished objects. I have one finished object. Can't do another 4 like last week. It's only a small one, but I'm still very happy that it's done, and that's my Strider Cowl. It's a pattern by Susan Pandolf. It's out of her Lord of the Rings series, Fellowship of the Ring, and Strider is Aragorn. So I think the original that she knit is some dark color, so it kind of looks like he's hiding and he doesn't want to be seen. But mine is blue and bright. And I don't mind people seeing it. It's the second time I've knit this pattern. The first time I knitted in a very dark grey, so it had this dark and moody look, but I wanted another one that was lighter and that showed the pattern more, because I think with the dark grey it sort of gets lost. But still people kept asking me for the pattern and they really liked it, so I thought I really need to knit it again in a nicer color. Even though I love the grey cowl, it's perfect to just go with everything. But then with this kind of blue, it goes with most of the things that I have. I knit 4 pattern repeats, which is like the long length in the pattern. You can do 2 repeats for a short cowl. I mean, you can do any number of repeats, whatever you like. I wanted this to be a one skein project, so I did the 4 repeats that I knew I could do with one ball of yarn, and then this is what I have left. And I think at the end you're supposed to do 3 rows of ribbing, just like in the beginning, and then cast off. But I knew that I had enough yarn to add a few more rounds, so I think I did 2 more rounds and then bound off. And for some reason this edge always looks a bit straighter, whereas this edge has these light scallops or waves or whatever. Maybe I'll try and block it on this side so they show a bit more, because it's the same pattern. They should have the same kind of wave. And it's not because of the 2 rows that I knit, I think, because with the other one I didn't add the rows and still one edge looks a bit straighter. But it's not a big problem, so... and I used opal yarn out of the series Beauty, and it's this special yarn that has something added to it to make the yarn softer and to make the yarn treat your skin in a nice way somehow. So I mustn't wash it too often so that the effect stays in the yarn for as long as possible. But I will definitely wash it once before I wear it, because that's what I always do, to get rid of all the added stuff that's in the wool that's supposed to keep it nice and like from dyeing and from handling everything. I just always wash everything that I knit once before I wear it. Sometimes I make an exception with socks because they're on my feet and I don't mind so much. But everything that I wear near my face or on my bare skin, I like to wash before I wear it. Yeah, so that's the only finished object for this week. On to works in progress. I will start as usual with my socks, and that was just one pair of socks last week, and that was my London socks. This is a pattern by Mina Phillip, and she published an ebook, or she is publishing patterns for an ebook that's called Around the World in 8 Socks, and she picked 8 different cities, and she's designing a pair of socks for each of those cities. And the first pattern that came out are the London socks. That was published last month, and I'm using this color from the Beauty series by Opal, and I'm knitting them 2 at the time. And I think last week I just finished the heel, and I've added a few rows. I think I've added almost 1 pattern repeat. It's slow going because I need to check the pattern all the time, because with these, it's just a knit purl pattern. It's not really complicated, but I can't knit it by heart. I need to look at the pattern to know which stitches to knit and which to purl. So it's slow going, but I don't mind. I really enjoy working on them. The yarn is beautiful and it's so soft, and I like the colors, I like the pattern, so I don't have to rush it. Especially now that I'm rushing all the Sockmadness socks, I enjoy taking my time with other socks, and I'm just enjoying working on this every now and then. And as I said, this ebook is still being published, so she wants to publish a pattern every month, and this month she published the Paris socks, and I decided to knit the Paris socks with this Opal subscription yarn, Opal Abo yarn, and this is the ball that was chosen to be the pattern battle color for this subscription. And my sister really liked the color and asked me if I would knit her socks out of this color, and then because this was chosen for the pattern battle, I decided to take part in that with the Paris socks. I'm usually late in applying for a pattern or announcing my pattern, so it's always good to find something that I'm pretty sure nobody else has chosen yet. Usually you have to check the whole list to see if the pattern has been chosen, and usually I don't knit socks for the pattern battle, so that was why I chose this cowl for that one. The last pattern battle I knit the sideways socks, so that was different. And with this pattern, I because it was such a new pattern, I was pretty sure nobody had chosen it, so I could choose the Paris socks. Now with the Paris socks, it's another nice example of how different people will have the same idea or similar idea at different times in different places. So when I first saw the pattern, Mina was showing it on her podcast, saying that she was working on a design. And I saw it and I thought, oh no, it's the same pattern that I was working on. And I said, well, if she's going to publish the pattern, I don't have to write it down, so I can just finish my socks without writing the pattern down. And then when the Paris socks were published, I knew what she was working on. And I will first show you my sock that I knit. I think I knit the sock 3 years ago. It's on Ravelry. I will link the pattern down below. And I only knit one sock because with the second sock, I wanted to write down the pattern while I was knitting the second sock. Now I will just knit the second sock at some point and not write down the pattern because it is almost exactly the same with a few changes. I knit a 1x1 twisted rib, then I did the pattern, and then I did this heel with a heel flap, which is not my usual heel to knit, and then I did a toe where the ribbing went to the very front of the sock. And what I did is I alternated the pattern in the different panels. And so with Mina's socks, she starts off with the ribbing in pattern. So it's not a 1x1 rib going through, but she does it in pattern. And the pattern is different for every size. I think she gives like 7 or 8 different sizes, and every size has their own ribbing for the cuff, and then their own pattern chart and written down pattern for the rest of the sock. And with her pattern, those patterns, they all sit next to each other. So with her socks, you'd have one row of these flowers and then one row of just the ribbing. And it's nice too. It's just a different way of interpreting this. And my sister said she preferred the way that I put the pattern in my sock. So now this is going to be a mix of Mina's pattern with a few changes like from my pattern. So I did the ribbing according to her pattern, but now I'm going to offset those flower-like patterns. So I only knit it in every other column of stitches. And then now that these are actually done, and I've just started the flower or the pattern on the other column. And in a way, this also reminded me of the socks, the Sockmadness qualification socks. The way they're knitted is different, but because they were offset and they also have those slip stitch, those twisted stitches, there is a similarity there. Yeah, but I thought that was really interesting. So I will finish these socks for myself at some point, and then I'll knit these socks for my sister. So we have kind of matching socks, if we ever wanted to wear matching socks. Yeah, so these are the Paris socks. The next pattern, I think she said the next pattern is going to be Rome and will be published beginning of May. So I'll be looking forward to that, and maybe I'll start those and knit all the socks from the ebook at the same time. But the next pair of socks that I will start will definitely be the Sockmadness socks. This round still goes on until Wednesday, and then depending on when the next pattern drops, I will at some point start the next pair of Sockmadness socks. I'm pretty sure it'll be before next Monday, so I'll probably be able to show you at least the beginning of those socks. Yeah, that's it for socks. I have two new projects this week. No, I have 3 new projects this week, which is compared to the just one finished object is not quite the right ratio, but I had so many finished projects last week that I don't feel too bad. And the socks aren't such a small project. The other 2 are fairly small projects. Anyway, one of them I'm going to show you now is, of course, knit out of sock yarn. And I am using this Opal Rainforest yarn. I think Rainforest 16, I think was 2 years ago. Or was it last year? I don't remember. Anyway, it's the 6-ply sock yarn. I'm using these double pointed needles that go with the yarn quite nicely in color. And I am knitting the dragon, I think his name is Tarragon, and it's sort of the Sockmadness mascot, animal, toy, whatever. So this little thing will grow up to be a dragon. It looks a lot like a duck at the moment. But I really like it. So yeah, I just decided now that I'm not knitting a Sockmadness sock. I mean, I could be knitting the bonus patterns, but so far I wasn't really too interested in knitting any of them right now. I might knit them at a later date. But yeah, I just I thought about knitting this little guy, and I talked about it to a friend, and then she said she would knit one with me, and then we talked another friend into knitting another one. So at the moment there are 3 dragons growing up at the same time. And I really enjoyed knitting this so far. This pattern is, everything is knit in pieces and has to be sewn together. I usually prefer to knit things onto pieces, so I was thinking if I knit another one, maybe once I know where the other pieces go, maybe with the next dragon I'll be able to just pick up stitches and knit things onto the body. But for the first dragon I decided to do it as the pattern says. It's a free pattern on Ravelry, so if you like it, feel free to join in and knit your own dragon. So that's that. Yeah, that's all the sock and sock related pattern works in progress I have. I will now go on to the pullovers, and I wanted to show you my mohair pullover, and I must have left it at home because I can't find it, and I'm really angry with myself for leaving it at home. I don't know where I put it there, that I didn't see it this morning. I have almost finished knitting the bit with the main color. So last time I showed it to you, the sleeves were done, and I knit a bit in the main color, and I wanted to do the same number of rows that I did on the sleeves, and I've almost finished that, so it grew quite a bit, and I'm really sad I left it at home. So I hope by next week I will have changed to the 3rd color, to the darker glitter yarn that I'm using on the bottom, that I used on the bottom of the sleeves, and that I want to use on the bottom of the front and back. So I'll be able to show that to you then. The other 2 pullovers I am currently working on, one of them is the tunic by Juri Locatelli that I am knitting. I just can't remember the name of the pattern right now because I put it down in German and the name's in English. Anyway, it's a tunic by Juri Locatelli out of Interpretations 5, and I haven't really added a lot of knitting on that during the last week. I think I just added a few rows. It's this really nice pattern where you start off with 2 triangles, and the front and the back have this V-shape pattern and these garter ridges every now and then. The sleeves are knit with raglan shaping and in stockinette stitch. And last week I told you that I was going to use 5 different opal colors, but I forgot to put them here so I can show you. But this week I remembered. So this first color is a color out of the series Colors in Love, and I plan to knit the most of the yoke in this color, and then just before the yoke is done I want to fade in this color out of the series Ice Cream. It's a beautiful color, one of my favorite colors ever. Just to show you how I really like this color. Anyway, so I will change to this color after the yoke, or at the end of the yoke I want to change to this color, and then I want to do the upper arm and like the breast area, the chest area in this color, and then I will change to this opal subscription yarn color, which is quite similar but not the same, and then I will do the lower sleeve and like the stomach area in this color. And then, and that's where I got it wrong last week, I couldn't remember which series the 5th color was from. I remembered the energy but not the 5th, and it's not a rainforest color, but it's a comedy color. So that's from the series Comedy, and there's a bit more difference from that skein to this one, but I really like it, and it picks up the purple color. There's a little bit of purple in this and a bit more purple in this skein, so I think that should be quite nice. So I will do like the so if I knit it as a dress, so the upper part of the skirt part will be this color, and then the bottom color will be this beautiful color from the Energy series, and this has a bit more dark gray in it, and it but it still has the same turquoise and blue colors that most of the other skeins have. And so this will be the bottom part of the either tunic or dress or whatever I'm making. Yeah, and I think, and I hope, it will look nice, like this. Yeah, so as I said, I've been collecting yarns and changing colors on and off for months, if not years, and now I finally decided this is it. This is what I'm going to stick with, and that's why I started knitting now. Okay, the other pullover I had started last week is the Modern Art Pullover out of the book The Art of Circular Yokes, and I'm knitting that out of cotton, and I have finished knitting the pattern part. So the top of the pullover, oops, there you go, is knit in this nice pattern, and I finished knitting the pattern, and from now on it's going to be stockinette. And because I wanted to know how long this was going to be once it's washed and blocked, that's what I did. I put it on a really long cable. That is, I attached two cables together so I'd have enough space to lay it flat. And I didn't actually wash it, I just wetted. I look so yellow when I hold this up. So this is what the pattern looks like. As I said, I made it wet, I blocked it, and it was quite flat when I blocked it. And I thought, as this is cotton, it would stay flat, but it's sort of going back a bit to being this 3D shape. But still, it's longer now than it was before I blocked it, and it's a lot easier to measure now whether I have the length I need. The yoke is not completely, the pattern is done, but the yoke isn't. So the next step in the pattern is to add short rows so that the back comes a bit higher. And I think once you've done the short rows, you're supposed to knit a few more rounds in stockinette to get the length that you need before you split the stitches off for the arms. So that's the next thing I will do. And then maybe by next week I will have split off for the arms, and then I can fade in the other color. I might start fading in the other color before I split for the arms, but I will definitely do it after I knit the short rows. Yeah, that's the plan. So we'll see how that works out. So that was all the pullovers. Then on to the dinosaur blanket. And I did put a bit of work into the dinosaur blanket. These are all the pieces that I have crocheted so far. And last week I had finished all the dinosaur faces, but they weren't looking at you yet. So I have crocheted all the beaks or mouths and all the eyes, and I have sewn them all on. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then for number 5 and 6, I've also added the main color. So once the face is finished, I need to add 4 rounds of main color. And as you can see, none of them have horns yet. And this is one of the old faces that I've done before. And as you can see, 2 of those horns, they go into this main color bit. So that's why I have to crochet that first, and then I can add the horns. So these are the 6 old faces that I had crocheted before. And this is all the dinosaurs that I need for the blanket. There we go. And then these are the 4 pieces that I have crocheted that go in between the dinosaur faces. And then the edges, that there are triangles, and in the middle there are these squares. So I need to crochet, I think, 4 more squares and 8 more triangles, and then I can start assembling the whole thing. And of course I need to crochet those horns and sew them on. Haven't done that yet, but yeah, I want to really hurry up with this blanket, and then pick up the other blankets I have on the go, and yeah, at some point I'll start the next blanket, but I'll tell you when it's time for that. Okay, that brings us to the 2 knit-alongs, and it's 2 knit-alongs again. I don't remember whether I told you about the dishcloths I wanted to make. Did I talk about that last week? I don't know. Anyway, I have started a new knit-along on my Ravelry group, and that's for knitting dishcloths. So far, I only have a German discussion group. If any of you would like to join in, and if you want to join in English, let me know, and then I'll open an English discussion group, and then we can talk about knitting or crocheting dishcloths in English as well. So I started this group, and some people have already contributed some patterns, because I was saying I'm still looking for the perfect pattern, but doesn't have to be perfect, but I'm just looking for patterns that I can try out. And one of the patterns that somebody put in the group is not Grandma's favorite dishcloth. That's a pattern that I have knit before, which I think is quite nice, but it's Grandma's, I think, lace pattern dishcloth, something like that. And this is what it looks like. So it's basically, the basic pattern is like Grandma's favorite dishcloth, but it has a lace pattern in the middle. And it's what they call true lace, because it has lace patterning on both the right side and the wrong side rows. It's not very complicated. It's just 4 rows that repeat itself. And after a few repeats, I knew how to do it by heart. And I have 2 nice new stitch markers that a friend made. And yeah, so this is that pattern. And this is the first of the dishcloths I'm knitting for myself. The yarn, I'm not sure, it may be Rico or Wollerödel, but it has lost its ball band, so I'm not too sure where it came from. But I like the color. I like the way it was has these different colors. And yeah, I knit the beginning bit as per pattern, but you were supposed to start decreasing at 40 stitches. I can talk about that because it's a free pattern. And I thought it looked a bit too small, so I added 1 more pattern. So I went up to 44 stitches, and then I knit 4 rows without increasing or decreasing, and then I started the decreases. And to me, it looks like a nice size. I don't like the dishcloths to be too small, so yeah, that looks nice. I am hoping to do something like 1 dishcloth a week. Not quite sure. It's sort of the way that the Yarn Hoarder used to do it in her YouTube knitting podcasts. I'm not sure whether she's still doing the challenge or whether she stopped it for this year. I don't know. But yeah, I would like to do something like that. Not too strict. I don't want to put too much stress on myself, especially now with the Sockmadness. I just can throw everything into disarray. I don't want to promise too many things. But yeah, I was thinking along those lines. So if you are knitting or crocheting dishcloths, then yeah, be happy to see them in my group, and yeah, to see what patterns you use and pictures of what you've done. And that brings me to the second knit along that we are doing, and that's knitting the Optic Blanket, a free pattern online. And there I usually like to knit 1 square a week. And again, I was a bit out of order the last couple of weeks. So last week I managed to knit 2 squares to make up for what I didn't manage the week before. So this okay, I'm trying to find the square I knit first last week, and I think it was this one. Yeah, it must have been this one. So this is the first square I knit last week, and with that I finished this 9 square, which sounds really funny. But instead of knitting the whole blanket at once and then having to move everything on my lap all the time, I decided to do these 9 squares. So this is the first one I did, and this is the second one. And now I've started the third one, and this is the beginning of the third 9 square. So this is just a single square at the moment, and I repeated this color, and they do look almost the same. So with opal yarn, you never know. If you start in a different place of the color scheme, they might look different, but these look quite the same. And originally I had been thinking that I would repeat all those colors and just put them in a different order. But now, and that's one of the things that I like about these projects, that you can change your mind while you're doing it, and you can come up with new ideas all the time. So now I'm thinking I just might repeat not all the colors from the first square, but maybe my favorite 9 colors out of the first 2 squares. So maybe I will repeat all the squares that have blue in them and make like a blue 9 square. I don't know, but I've already decided that the 4th of those 9 squares that I'm going to make will have single colors. So I will be using black and then one other color, black and yellow, black and orange, black and green, whatever. So that should be fun. Yeah, but that will be in like 2 months' time when I finish the other 8 of this square. Yeah, so that's everything that I knit and crocheted last week. I hope I'll remember to bring everything next week and not forget a project at home again. I hope you enjoyed seeing my projects grow, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!